The top 10 places in the world where women are banned for over 1,300 years. The number one is surprisingly men's favorite. Can you guess them all? In an era where gender equality is highly promoted, we often believe that women have unprecedented freedom globally. However, surprisingly, the real world still harbors some female-free zones. In these places, not only are women unwelcome, but they are also explicitly prohibited from entering. The stories behind them not only arouse curiosity but also provoke deep reflection on the delicate relationship between gender equality and cultural traditions. In 10th place, we have Haji Ali Dargah, a landmark mosque in Mumbai, India, and a pilgrimage site for Indian Muslims. Situated on an island near the Worli coast of Mumbai, it was built in the 19th century and houses the tomb of the Sufi saint Haji Ali. Legend has it that Haji Ali died on his way to Mecca for pilgrimage, but miraculously, his coffin floated across the sea and eventually arrived on the shores of Mumbai, leading to the construction of this mosque. Within this mosque, there was once a controversial rule. In March 2012, the trust responsible for managing the mosque suddenly issued a ban prohibiting women from visiting the tomb, including the inner sanctum where the saint's tomb is located. Prior to this, women did not face any additional restrictions while visiting the mosque. This rule immediately sparked controversy. One trustee claimed that the ban was implemented because a woman had previously visited the mosque wearing inappropriate attire, and women wearing loose-necked tops might expose themselves too much while bowing. They believed that this ban could prevent women from mingling with men in the sanctuary, thus avoiding incidents of harassment. Eventually, the ban was deemed unconstitutional by the Mumbai High Court on grounds of gender discrimination, despite an appeal by the trust, which ultimately failed. The Haji Ali Dargah now has separate entrances for women, regardless of their religious beliefs, and any woman can enter the mosque and inner sanctum except for touching the tomb, with the requirement to cover their heads with a scarf as a sign of respect for the holy site. In 9th place, we have Mount Omine in Japan. In Japan, women's status has historically been lower, and with Japan being a country with many mountain ranges, mountain deities naturally became objects of worship. According to Japanese legends, the daughter of the mountain god Oimitsumi is named Ishinagaheim, who governs all of Japan's mountains. Legend has it that Ishinagaheim was extremely ugly and jealous. To avoid the wrath of the female mountain deity due to jealousy of women's beauty, many famous mountains in Japan have been off-limits to women since ancient times, and traces of gender exclusion can still be found today. One of these mountains we're going to talk about next is Mount Omine. Located in southern Japan, it has been off-limits to women for over 1,300 years. At the main entrance to its primary trail stands a 4-meter-tall stone pillar inscribed with the words, "From here on is a women's restricted area." Immediately after, you'll see a 3.3-meter-high wooden gate with metal spikes, labeled Women Forbidden Gate, along with a large sign in English and Japanese stating no women allowed. While this gate may seem unassuming, in a culture that adheres to tradition, it symbolizes a psychological barbed wire. Although this prohibition has been questioned many times, it has remained in place for many years. Supporters argue that gender segregation does not equate to gender discrimination and emphasize that it is a practice with a 1,300-year uninterrupted tradition. In 2004, Mount Omine was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but the ban on women still remains. The reason is that the temple monks believe that the intrusion of women would distract them from their spiritual practices. This has led some critics to believe that this gender ban has even gained international recognition. However, Japan has also made some progress in gender recognition in recent years. The Japanese government once enacted a law in 1872 that explicitly stated which mountains women could climb, including the famous Mount Fuji. However, Mount Omine, this stubborn old fellow, still insists on its own ideas. As a result, some women have secretly entered the mountain, refraining from climbing to the summit out of respect for the temple, but still documenting their acts of defiance through photographs, expressing their dissatisfaction with traditional biases. In summary, the ban on Mount Omine reflects the unique treatment of women in some traditional religious and cultural beliefs in Japan, although it may seem outdated and difficult to understand in modern society. In 8th place, we have the Galaxy Water Park, located in Erding, Germany. The park features a particularly famous water slide, promising visitors an exhilarating experience of high-speed free fall, reaching speeds of up to 72 kilometers per hour, causing a sensation worldwide. However, after the park had been open to the public for a while, things took a rather bizarre turn. The park manager, Marcus Meyer, suddenly announced that, For the safety of female guests, the park had decided to designate this slide exclusively for male use, prohibiting female guests from using it. Marcus stated that there had been 6 incidents where female guests had sustained injuries to their reproductive organs and had to be urgently hospitalized after riding this high-speed water slide. It seems that female reproductive organs may not withstand the pressure of this level of water flow. However, after the announcement of this regulation, professional gynecologists expressed skepticism. A spokesperson stated that there is no medical reason to prohibit women from using such a slide unless they are pregnant. She even mentioned that she had never heard of vaginal injuries caused by water slides. Despite this, the park decided to continue implementing this policy of male exclusivity. Marcus claimed that they were doing this for the good of women, not to discriminate against them. However, it is interesting to note that the park has not considered redesigning this slide so far, as some slides also specify that only passengers weighing up to 50 kilograms can ride. Marcus believes that such regulations are quite normal, and this slide is new, with construction costs of up to 100,000 euros. However, if you are really interested in experiencing such a high-speed slide, there is still hope. It is said that the park is developing protective suits designed specifically for women, allowing them to safely experience this thrilling slide. Marcus mentioned that these protective suits are similar to those worn by ice hockey players. So, ladies, if you want to experience thrills at the Galaxy Water Park, you may have to wait for the launch of these protective suits. In 7th place, we have Okinoshima Island, located in Munakata City, Fukuoka Prefecture, Japan. It's a small island of just over 100 hectares. Despite being situated in a remote corner of southwestern Japan, it is considered a sacred place by many. This small island prohibits women from setting foot on its shores. Even for men, access to the island is strictly limited. Okinoshima Island is a sacred site in Shinto, Japan's indigenous religion. Shinto originally focused on nature worship, regarding various animals and plants in the natural world as divine spirits. The island's Shinto priests are the only residents responsible for protecting this sacred site. Every year on May 27th, the island is open to a maximum of 200 men for ritual activities. Female visitors are essentially completely barred from setting foot on the island. Even for men granted permission to visit, they must undergo symbolic purification rituals to cleanse their minds and bodies and must enter the island completely naked. They are also prohibited from taking anything from Okinoshima Island when they leave, not even a single blade of grass or a stone from the beach. Additionally, visitors are not allowed to disclose any information about their experiences on the island to the public. Each visitor must swear an oath regarding this. The reasons for prohibiting women from visiting the island are currently unclear. Some theories suggest it's because women's menstruation may defile the sacred space, as blood is considered impure in Shinto beliefs. Another explanation is that it's for the protection of women, as tradition dictates that women's responsibility is to care for children at home and should not be exposed to risks by visiting the island. Historically, most visitors to Okinoshima Island have been sailors, as the island sits conveniently along the trade routes between Japan and Korea. Over the years, sailors have prayed at the island's shrines for the safe arrival of ships in port and for prosperity and trade, offering tributes to the deities. Some of these precious offerings have become national treasures of Japan. This nomination led Okinoshima Island to be recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. So, people inevitably wonder, if it becomes a World Heritage Site, will Okinoshima Island lift its ban on women visitors? However, the authorities in Munakata City and the island's Shinto priests insist that nothing will change. Okinoshima Island will continue to be off-limits to half of the world's population. Part of the reason is the concern that the island could be destroyed by too many tourists, and discrimination against women is not related to this. What are your thoughts on this issue? Feel free to share in the comments section. In 6th place, we have the Bohemian Grove, a roughly 1,100-hectare private campground located in Monte Rio, California, owned by a San Francisco-based private men's club called the Bohemian Club. It was originally founded by journalists and artists in 1872. Over time, the club's membership expanded to include presidents, various FBI and CIA directors, and business tycoons, all exclusively male, with even former Presidents Reagan and Nixon listed as members. Every July, this privileged and powerful group gathers here for 2 weeks of leisurely retreat. During this time, club members can invite guests to participate in activities within the grove. While invited women and underage guests can partake in daytime activities, they must leave by 9 or 10 p.m. This rule applies even to the 4 women who were once granted honorary membership. In 1978, the Bohemian Club was charged with discrimination by the California Fair Employment and Housing Department for refusing to hire female staff, leading the club to start hiring women during the Grove's summer camping season. Linda Hopkins, a Sonoma County supervisor, publicly stated that the operating rules of the Bohemian Club significantly hindered women's advancement in politics. However, this hasn't stopped the Bohemian Club from continuing to operate as an exclusive men's club. In 5th place, we have the Kadakya Temple, built in the 5th century BC, is an ancient and mysterious temple located in northern India. This temple is dedicated to Kartikeya, the son of Lord Shiva and the god of war. Interestingly, the temple houses an image of Kartikeya in his ascetic form, symbolizing his celibacy and detachment from worldly desires. Recently, the temple has garnered widespread attention due to its ban on women. It is believed that if women enter the temple, they will incur the wrath of the deity rather than receive blessings. This belief stems from local myths where Kartikeya cursed any woman who disturbed his meditation, turning them into stone, after a celestial nymph sent by the king of gods, Indra, distracted him. As a result, women are still prohibited from entering the Kadakya temple to this day. While some may find the discrimination against women in these temples surprising in today's age, it's essential to understand that in a country deeply influenced by tradition like India, the history and culture of ancient temples are deeply rooted in religious beliefs and values. As devout believers, how can we question or disrespect the ways in which the gods choose to practice? While some may view such exclusion of women as outdated, perhaps respecting and understanding these traditions and customs is equally important. In 4th place, we have the Jostri Country Club, which bears some resemblance to the Bohemian Grove we discussed earlier. It's like the elite gentleman's golf playground of Washington, D.C. Want to get in? Well, you'll need to cough up a whopping $75,000 membership fee and have someone vouch for you. Talk about exclusive. But here's the kicker. Women are strictly forbidden from entering this establishment, and there isn't even a ladies' restroom on the premises. Facing this rule, the only exception is during a 3-hour window each year when members' wives are allowed to enter the club's shops to shop for their husbands. Apart from that, ladies aren't even allowed past the front gate. Rumor has it that the club's owners have been fighting to keep women out for nearly a century, even foregoing tax breaks. They pay an extra $150,000 in taxes annually compared to surrounding clubs. But hey, they're okay with it. This club has been a gathering spot for many big shots in history, like Supreme Court Justice Scalia and President Eisenhower. Some might find the club's exclusivity quite charming, especially since it's operated similarly to the highly renowned Augusta National Golf Club, the birthplace and final destination of one of the 4 major professional golf tournaments, the Masters Tournament. The membership list is kept confidential, and only when existing members leave or pass away can applicants qualify. Back in 2002, even the legendary golfer Tiger Woods was only an honorary member of this club. America's Microsoft Mobile Bill Gates is also on the waiting list. But even Augusta National Golf Club welcomed its first female member in 2012 and has since hosted women's tournaments. Isn't it about time for the Jostri Country Club to open its doors to women as well? Coming in at number 3, we have the Ayappa Temple, located in the Kerala region of India. This temple is not only renowned for its popularity, but also for being a highly controversial place of worship. Every year, it attracts around 17 to 50 million pilgrims, almost all of whom are men. The reason? Well, this temple has an ancient rule that prohibits menstruating women from entering, specifically targeting women of reproductive age from 10 to 50 years old. It's believed that this rule has been in place for 300 years. The temple is dedicated to Ayappa, the son of the god Shiva, who defeated the buffalo demon Mahishi and made a vow of celibacy. Legend has it that Ayappa saved a girl during his travels, and she, in gratitude, pursued him relentlessly, insisting on offering herself to him. To avoid breaking his vow, Ayappa retreated into the mountains, protected by his followers, and established this temple as his abode. He also laid down the rule prohibiting eligible women from entering. Even today, it's said that the spirit of that girl waits at the 18th step of the temple, still longing for her wish to be fulfilled. Opponents of women entering the temple argue that its customs have nothing to do with gender discrimination, it's simply tradition. They believe that if tradition is broken, the temple loses its foundation. This viewpoint is not limited to men but is also held by many devout women in the region. In 1991, the Kerala High Court ruled the temple ban valid, but opposition to this decision has persisted. On September 28, 2018, the Supreme Court of India overturned the previous ruling with a 4-1 decision, declaring that women could enter the Ayyappa temple freely. The Chief Justice stated that preventing women from entering was not a necessary tradition of Hinduism, but a legacy of religious patriarchy. Interestingly, the lone dissenting vote came from a female judge who believed that religious issues should be resolved by religion and not by courts. Nevertheless, Kerala authorities strictly enforced the verdict. They deployed a 1,300-strong army to protect female devotees entering the temple. On January 2, 2019, 2 women entered the temple on foot for the first time in 3 centuries. However, the temple authorities immediately closed the temple for an hour to conduct a purification ritual for the deity, sparking strong protests from local devotees. As of now, the temple dispute remains unresolved. Taking the second spot, we have the Iran football stadium, notorious for the government's women banned from stadiums policy. Since the Islamic Revolution in 1979, Iran has implemented gender segregation policies in crowded public places like the metro, buses, and, of course, the Azadi Stadium, which can hold up to 100,000 people. Starting in 1981, Iranian women were officially barred from attending live football matches. The ban was so extreme that even in international matches broadcasted with rights purchased from other countries, any footage of female fans would be immediately replaced with other shots. The Iranian government justifies this action as a measure to ensure women's safety. They argue that football stadiums, with their large crowds, low entry barriers, and almost free ticket prices, attract people from all walks of life. Many poorly educated and sexually repressed lower-class men may utter offensive remarks in the collective unconsciousness of the stadium, which, if heard by women, could lead to insults and even inappropriate behavior when emotions run high. So, for safety reasons, women should not enter the stadium. Iranian feminists have fought for years to be able to go to sports stadiums to watch matches just like men. For 40 years, the story of illegal watching football by Iranian women has even been made into a movie. For example, in early 2006, before the start of the FIFA World Cup in Germany, a film called Offside about Iranian football was screened at the Berlin International Film Festival, winning the Golden Bear for Best Film and the Silver Bear for Jury Grand Prix. However, in Iran, this film was banned for a long time. The reason was simple. It told the story of a group of young female fans who wanted to enter Tehran Stadium to watch the 2005 World Cup qualifier between Iran and Bahrain. Later, the incident of the blue girl, Sahar, shocked the world. This incident caused a huge uproar on social media, with many international football stars coming out in support of Iranian women. FIFA also warned Iran that if women were not allowed to watch matches, Iran might be kicked out of FIFA. Finally, under mounting international pressure, the Iranian government relaxed its policy in 2022. But despite Sahar's sacrifice for the freedom of Iranian women to watch football live, this freedom remains severely limited. Despite heavy obstacles, the stadium, which can accommodate 100,000 people, only allocated 3,500 tickets to female fans. The Iranian authorities not only erected barbed wire around the women's seating area but also deployed 300 female police officers and numerous plainclothes officers to maintain order. Any woman shouting slogans or holding signs commemorating Sahar would be warned or even expelled immediately. Regardless, this change is a positive signal for Iranian women's rights, though the road ahead is long. At least it's a step in the right direction. Taking the number 1 spot is Herbertstrasse, located in the St. Pauli district of Hamburg, Germany. This street is famous locally and globally, but its reputation may not be entirely positive. It's known as one of the most notorious streets in Hamburg and one of the world's most famous male paradises. Approximately 250 professional women work behind windows on this street, waiting for every passing male resident or tourist. But what many people don't know is that Herbertstrasse has a special rule. No women or individuals under 18 are allowed inside. This rule dates back to the dark days of Nazi rule when authorities attempted to prohibit professional women from earning money through their bodies in any setting. However, in the debauched St. Pauli district, this policy seemed unenforceable, so they confined this industry to the narrow street of Herbertstrasse. In 1933, to prevent passers-by from seeing officially prohibited activities flourishing on this street, local authorities decided to erect screens at both ends of the street, hiding all forbidden things inside. It was also from that time that large signs were hung in the area, warning all women and under 18s to stay away. However, today, legally speaking, Herbertstrasse is still a public thoroughfare, theoretically open to everyone. However, women who ignore this ban still face unpleasant surprises. If you accidentally venture in, you might be ruthlessly splashed with dirty water because the professional women here see any other women they spot as their competitors and will do whatever it takes to drive them out of Herbertstrasse. Recently, to celebrate its 100th birthday, Herbertstrasse made an exception and opened to the general public, with female tourists also allowed in on that day. Many expressed curiosity about the place, and tourists could visit the houses and learn about the working environment of the professional women. However, such openness is very rare. Overall, Herbertstrasse is a controversial but also uniquely historic and culturally valuable male paradise. For locals in Hamburg, it's more of a lively nightlife center, an entertainment venue primarily enjoyed by men. Well, that wraps up all the content for this video. Which of these 10 female-restricted places impressed you the most? Feel free to let us know in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.